to the Outcast. This is your host, Kimmy, and thank you for tuning into my third episode. I know this is only, episode number 3, but I feel like I've recorded about 20 of these. I've I've learned a lot about podcasting within the little bits that I've done because even though, like I said, y'all only see 3 episodes, I will write out a whole notepad of things that I want to talk about, record it, and then listen to it. And I'm just like, I need to do that all over again. Like, I'm just not completely satisfied. I want to make sure I give the best quality to my listeners and, at least put the effort that I'm trying to do better for each episode because, as we know, there's a lot of noises going on and a lot of things I had to kind of work out the kinks for. Like in the first episode, we had the rolling chair. It was just driving me up the wall. In the second episode, this was probably something that happened in the first episode, but I honestly am immune to the noise because I've had to deal with it so long. But it was my Discord pings; they kept going off, from people like messaging on the app, and I didn't realize that would show up in my recordings, and that's really hard to edit out. And I'm not really that technology. I can't speak today. I'm not that technologically advanced in the sense of audio recording, but it's a learning process. I'm happy to have you guys here with me, throughout the whole ride. Like I said, we're in this together, and I just appreciate everyone for taking the time out their day to listen to what I have to say again. Something I do want to touch on is, like I said, I don't know if I should have a schedule, but most of the time with these episodes, I kind of get a urge or a calling to speak about certain topics when they come about. Like I've written out a whole list of at least 100 topics that I want to dive into, but as far as the order of how they're going to be presented, that's just kind of, I guess, is up to my intuition. But I'm trying to keep them at least consistently. I want to at least have one a week, but I can't sit here and guarantee a certain day. It's just gonna be one of those surprises. Like, is she gonna upload on Tuesday or Saturday? Head ass. But yeah, like I said, I'm working on doing it at least once a week, but there is no set day yet. Also, if you're listening to this on Spotify, I do leave questions. I honestly don't know how that looks from this interface. Let me go ahead and look at that right now. But I ask questions on my under for each episode, just kind of things to get the users engaged. Let me see. Okay, so yeah, so when you click on an episode, it will have a Q&A and you can reply to it, and it kind of lets me know that people are, they can see it and they're participating, because I will probably ask more thought provoking questions. Like on the last episode, all I asked was, "Are you vaccinated?" I got one response, but that was my first response. Shout out Cynthia. But yeah, topic of the day. We're going to be focusing on how I transitioned from Christianity to spirituality. And so this will be like one of my more religious based topics that I'm excited to dive into because I don't really have that many spaces where I feel comfortable discussing my personal beliefs, or at least my transition from Christianity to spirituality, because it is something that's frowned on, or maybe some people, they can't wrap their minds around it, and so they give me that little crazy eye. And it's like, to me it makes sense, but explaining it to other people, it can be a little bit hard. But it still works. Oh my god, it's still worth listening to, because like I said, this podcast is about exploring controversial topics in those areas where people don't those topics that people don't feel comfortable talking about openly. So I'm trying to put this more of a sense on where I stand with religion in a sense, but this will be mostly taught with Christianity because that's a huge chunk in my life. But this is no, disrespect to people that I know that are Christian, because I have like friend groups that are, heavily devout, and I have no issue with that. I sometimes, like, even if they invite me to church, I have no problem sitting there and like listening, because sometimes there is a good message. It can be very engaging, and there are, good less like good like it can be a great time, but it honestly just depends on the vibe. I just know that I don't feel right sometimes, because I know I know the goal is to try to get me into, like, as a membership into that church, but I know in the back of my mind, I wouldn't do that because that's not where I stand with my beliefs. But like I said, I have no issue with anybody else that is Christian or anybody else that's in other religions that are outside of my beliefs. I honestly am not that type to try to push what I believe in onto other people, but I think it is something worth, talking about, because I think if we were to strip away a lot of the stuff that was taught to us, we would, come down to spirituality, and religion would not exist, in my opinion. So before, we dive into that, because, oh yeah, one thing I do want to mention is that this will not be the last topic that I would talk about Christianity and spirituality. They will be talked more separately probably after this, because I feel like I'm one of those like weird nerds that is interested in the study of religion, but I would not take part in it. So it's fun to talk about certain things in Christianity for me, and at least like interpret that whole meaning, because there's so much that I can dive into, but it's not enough within 30 minutes that Anchor allowed me to talk about what I want to talk about. And like I said, I want to keep this specifically on me transition from Christianity to spirituality. And just like Christianity, there's a lot to talk about spirituality, but we're not going to get into everything in one single episode. So let's jump in. So with Christianity, I started off going to church when I was 7 to about the close to the end of my high school years, before I start kind of transitioning into different types of labels for it. I used to kind of go with the agnostic side of things, which is like you kind of believe in a God. I don't know. There's a lot of specific terms, but I I try to eliminate the whole label thing, because I feel like that's what makes it a lot of confusion, trying to squeeze yourself into a box that you yourself don't know if you actually fit in. So, yeah, starting off going to church around 7, I found it as an inconvenience. I was putting in work Monday through Friday in school. I want to enjoy my Saturday and Sunday, my weekend, the 2 days that I get to be myself and to myself, or at least away from school. And me having to wake up to go to church on Sunday was not, it was not it. I used to fight to try to try oh my god. I used to fight to not go to church because I just did not want to go. It was killing my vibe. But like eventually, I don't know, I just start getting more involved because my family was a little bit more Christian based, I think, on my dad's side. But even though my mom was the one that wanted to go, so like eventually, like I allowed myself to learn and to kind of see the importance, and I started to enjoy the environment. I would study on my own. I I was involved as far as being like part of the choir, usher board. I did a little bit of praise dancing. I've been like with the church so many times during the week for other, lessons like Sunday school, midweek service. I want to say I was completely devout. So that's something I don't really have to argue about with anybody, because I did my due diligence when I was involved. I started to break away from that only because I don't know, I just did not like certain things that revolved around religion in a sense that just didn't sit right with me. Because, like I said, I don't like to be squeezed into a label that I don't fully identify with. So I'm gonna just kind of go through a few things with Christianity that like kind of can be spread across using other religions. So I don't like the sense of that with Christianity, like going to church, to me, that's like an organized religion. Like these are people, they organize to meet with each other at a certain time to talk about, about their religion and, what they should be, how they should be living their life. And like, you should be like a changed person every time you go in and whatnot. I just wasn't for it. I never really felt that comfortable. Like sometimes I can feel really connected depending on at the church I was at, but I think sometimes if, like the people that were within the church, it didn't always make me feel that connected. But at the same time, it shouldn't be like a group thing. It should be like a personal connection. And I feel more connected by myself than with groups of people. If that makes sense. That could be more of an introvert vibe, but I shouldn't have to like sit down and listen to what somebody else tells me about their interpretation of what what I don't know what somebody else said. Da da da. Like it's just too many different, you know, people taken from something someone else said instead of like it being a direct experience. I also strayed away from the Bible. Like I didn't like I can read the Bible in the sense of studying religion for like the fun of it, but as far as taking this and saying this is the way of life for me, I just can't do that. I'm truly 100% believer that the Bible is just man made. You know, Jesus didn't say y'all need to make this religion called Christianity after me and abide by it. No, people did that. And just over the years, just that was years ago, but like when we kind of get a little bit closer to the years of what the England king, he apparently changed up the Bible to kind of fit his way of teachings. And then when that when the Bible kind of transitioned to, I say New England. I guess this New England would be over here in America, and that would be Old England over there. But when it came over here, it was kind of pushed on slaves in a negative sense. Like it was all certain parts were taken out to, program slaves to believe and like their sufferings was worth it. And that's one thing I forgot to mention, that I was part of the Baptist side of Christianity, and a lot of Baptists say follow the King James version, and a lot of times the King James version is in reference to being the slave Bible that was pushed on slaves. That felt redundant. It was pushed on slaves to, I guess control their way of thinking. And I don't like that. I don't want to be in, I don't want that type of energy, because like why would I follow something that's already been altered to like make me think a certain way? And then on top of that, if you don't know, there are certain books that were part of the Bible that they said were lost, or like, just nobody can find them, or they're like omitted from people, thinking a different way about Christianity itself. Like the book of Enoch, that kind of talks a little bit more about um why Satan stepped away from heaven, or at least him getting kicked out, and all the angels that came after him. Because I like that's kind of briefly talked about in the Bible, but there's nothing very very in depth of how that whole situation happened. So that's something I want to buy that book and read it on top of the whole lot stack of books that I have that I need to finish reading. But that's something I want to get involved in, just to kind of, explore a little bit more of something that we are not taught when reading the Bible. And like I said, I do think there's a lot of things that were put in the Bible to control the way people think, or like it fits that society. Like back in the day when, I don't know, I I don't even I wish I had a time period to put it, but like the King the King James era, I feel like there was a lot more focus on putting men at a higher, I don't know, a higher pedestal than women. Just like with the whole Adam, and how it was like Adam, and we're all told it's Adam and Eve, but there was like Adam and Lilith, and how Adam and Lilith was against, a man trying to take control over her, but Eve was, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the stories that are pushed in it is just to kind of prove a alter motive to fit the society at the time. And I like today in our society, I think it's kind of outdated that we even followed up that type of text, because what if there was like a new modern day Bible to live by? Because I think there is a good method in religions as far as they want people to have good morals and have good standards, but I think it should fit the time period that we do live in. And it shouldn't be attached to just one religion. It should be like attached, like it should be like an ultimate book just for people in general. It doesn't have to, you don't have to be involved or a member or of a group to like understand these ethics of living a good, righteous life. So that's my like takeaway from Christianity. At least not my main things that push me away from it. Like I said, there's other stuff I want to talk about specifically, like the Adam and Lilith. That's an interesting topic. Just the fact that how women are always pushed to think we're lesser than man. So now I want to kind of, talk a little bit more about the spirituality side, because I think ultimately in religions, we're trying to make sense of what is going to happen when we die. Like, how will we know we're living the best life we live? How we know when we pass on, we won't live with any regrets or have to suffer for any bad doings that we did in our life. At the end of the day, people are going to choose their own paths that they want to take. So if someone wants to be a part of religion, to have that connection that's to their higher self, then that's cool. If someone wants to, not be religious or feel connected with themselves to a spiritual being, they just want to worry about being here on this life, that's up to them. I mean, I have my thoughts on people that aren't connected with them higher selves, but I can't. I'm not here to force nobody to change their life. They can choose what they want to do, because we all know there's consequences for our actions, and we know there's more to life than just this physical world. I I do find things that are kind of similar within religion that I use in spirituality, as far as in Christianity and, well, all religions. I think they all mostly try to teach people to have good morals and to make good decisions. And that can be applied to anyone. Like I think most people would prefer somebody to be kind, to lend out an extra hand, to be, more empathetic towards others, to, I don't know, just be a good general person. Unfortunately, the world's not like that. we, the world's not like that at all. But if it was a perfect world, that's what we would all want. I know you would want that, right? Another thing is in spirituality, we is focused more on meditation, and I in Christianity we would pray a lot more, like pray before you like before you eat, before you go to bed, when you wake up, before you leave the house, all the time, multiple times a day. And in spirituality, I find myself, I sit more and like reevaluate myself and kind of try to focus, or I don't want to say focus, ground myself to be more in my present in my present self, because it's so easy for me to like start thinking about like a whole bunch of other things, start stressing about a lot going on. I know it happens to a lot of us. We get so exhausted throughout the day, and sometimes we just need to have a good meditation for 10 minutes, and it can, really jumpstart our day. It kind of works in the same way to receive good intentions, or to, at least put out that you want balance in your life. And I think prayer does that because you're, sending out the inks for everything that God has given you in life. You're, requesting for prayer, or not requesting for prayer, you're requesting for help for when you're like going through hard times. And that's in a way another thing that's spiritual, because in spirituality, a lot of people like to participate in doing spells to manifest wealth or good friendships, better careers, success, just all types of things, or good health. That's a good one. And with the right intentions, you can get that. But if you're using it for malicious intent, then I believe that negative energy will come back to you. With spirituality, we focus more on trusting your intuition, doing right by others, because if you don't, then karma is going to get you, being more in tune with nature, because I really do believe that like if we spent a lot more time in nature and not so closed off and disconnected, lost in the media world and distracted by working all the time, if we just kind of sit in silence and just, breathe and just take into account that we're living just for a few moments a day, we could live better lives. I also believe that there are different lessons that are taught in religion that try to help you gain more faith within yourself and to be more humble, more obedient, to be more honest and not do, bad things by other people. So that can be just applied to our daily lives, or at least outside of a religion concept. Like if you have a good character, that should come natural to you. But that's work for some people, or they do need the guidance of being a religion. I'm just one of those people that didn't, because like I said, this is all about me transitioning from Christianity to spirituality. And spirituality is complex. There's a lot of different avenues. I want to discuss more about holistic practices and other practices as far as witchcraft, in a sense. I hate to use that word. I want to I want to use a better word for it, because I think that type of work gets a negative stigma as demonic, especially with a lot of Christians. They don't really approve of doing stuff like that. But like I said, there are things in Christianity that is very similar to witchcraft, which it well similar. It's basically the same thing. Like you're you're doing it, but with I guess a different intent in a way. Like I don't know. It's just so easy to get brainwashed to think that we're not doing the same thing. And I want to get into that later because I'm not going to have enough time today. And lastly, I do want to talk about in a spiritual sense my views of the afterlife. This is like something interesting to me because I remember when the Lil Nas video came out, I didn't care too much for the song, but I liked everything that happened afterwards in the sense of the backlash he was getting because because of everyone being mad because he used the heaven and hell and him doing the splits on Satan and whatnot. It kind of gets me thinking that we're all brainwashed to think heaven and hell looks a certain way. We have these certain images that pop up in our head to say, "Oh, this is what heaven looks like and this is what hell looks like." When really we're just told it looks that way. Like we're all so convinced that these two places exist outside outside of this world and we don't really know that. There's no way for us to know that to know or at least know what it looks like. So all we're doing is feeding ourselves images, false images of things that we don't know. And I think it's a waste of time to even worry about to worry about that in a way that as long as you're doing right by people and you're living the life you want, because I do believe we are our own gods in the sense that we have control of the life we want to live. We can keep who we want in our lives. We can get rid of who we want in our lives. We can go for the job that we want. We can live wherever we want if we really put our mind to it. And that takes a lot to kind of step into that power of taking full control of your life. And that's what I love about being more spiritually in tune with myself. So before this cuts off, because this is getting long, this is what I was talking about. I'm gonna keep going. I want to thank y'all for listening to my episode, and I want y'all to stay tuned. Go ahead and if you're on Spotify, check out the question below and give me an answer just to let me know that y'all can see them. All right, y'all have a great day. Bye.